Always a look on the light side of life. What can I say? I'm happy. Always a look on the bright side of life. Mr. Blue, the studio's closing. We gotta go. Always a look on the light side of life. Your time is up, sir. Always a look on.
Good morning. Welcome to you all. My name is Martin. We invite you into our spiritual community of hope, courage, and compassion. Now take a deep breath and release it as we ready our hearts and minds to enter this precious space together. We light this candle to begin our service.
Thank you, Martin. That's such a cool candle. When the service team first asked me and Martin to do a service on humor, we thought, oh, goody, that'll be a lot of fun. And then as we thought about it, we realized that we would fall short of the mark of providing a spiritually uplifting experience if all we did was tell jokes. So if you've been to very much stand-up comedy, you know there is a tier of comics, sort of near the bottom, who get along on what's really the adult equivalent of potty jokes, or by horrifying their audiences by saying things that nobody else would say. Think Andrew Dice Clay. We certainly want to do better than that. There comes a moment in really good comedy shows where the room gets quiet and the comic drills down to the deeper meaning of what he or she is trying to make. And the great ones, Mark Twain, Charlie Chaplin, Tina Fey, Dave Chappelle, the jokes go away for a moment and the laughter stops and the room gets focused, and the person who is talking or teaching or sometimes even preaching is then elevated to the role of sage, like a court jester, speaking some important, deep truth that says something important, whether it upends you or reveals yourself to you or opens your mind. And that is one of the great powers of humor, to lighten the mood so as to open the mind and allow some new truth wrapped in the mirth of the moment to penetrate. But nonetheless, a deeply and powerfully true moment. Now, Martin and I don't hold ourselves to the standards of the professionals. That is out of our reach. But still, we hope to get beyond the joke for the joke's sake to something more, at least a little bit, at least once in a while this morning. We hope that in addition to smiles and laughs, there will be something here this morning to take with you and to keep from what we have to offer today. Well, here we are, Martin, just you and me, alone together.
So it is, but to tell you the truth, I still don't really understand why we are here.
Me neither. But this is what I think. The folks who run the services decided they wanted a service on humor. And they thought you and I were funny, or at least funny enough to make a go of that.
Well, that was nice of them.
It was. But you know, I still don't really know where to begin. I guess we could tell jokes.
Or limericks. I know a limerick.
Huh?
This was a man from Nantucket who...
Wait, Martin. I have the same unabridged rhyming dictionary you do, and I know that there is more than bucket on that page.
So what then? Where do we begin?
Well, let's think about it. We should put on our thinking caps.
You know, Michael.
Sure, I know Michael. I spend almost all my time with him.
You are such a pain. You know, there have been lots of famous comedy duos. Maybe there is a clue for us if we look there.
That is a great idea, and I know just where to begin.
Where's that?
Why, with Martin and Lewis. They were half of us, which should be more than enough for anyone.
Cool. Let's take a look. Dude, that last pair reminds me of Laugh-In.
Oh man, I loved Laugh-In. Remember this?
Look that up in your Funk and Wagnalls.
You bet your sweet Bippy.
One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies.
Have I reached the party to whom I am speaking?
Is that a chicken joke?
Man, I just want to swing.
Sock it to me.
Blow in my ear and I'll follow you anywhere.
Now that's a no-no.
Want a walnutto?
Here come the judge.
Very interesting.
And that's the truth.
He pushed me.
Well, I'll drink to that.
I did not know that.
That's funny. So did she.
Wow, Martin, those were the days.
Wrong show, dingbat.
Ugh. You know the thing about Laugh-In and Saturday Night Live and The Kids in the Hall and Mad TV and The Carol Burnett Show and a host of others.
Dude, a host of others. Really? When are we?
I've just always wanted to say that.
Well, you just did, and look what happened.
All right. Nevertheless, and by the way, how come no one ever says never the more or always the more or always the less? Just nevertheless.
Please stop.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that Laugh-In and the rest of those shows didn't have themes. They just went looking for fun and laughter, and somehow they often also touched our hearts.
Oh, please.
So then here we go. A service with no theme, except for a willingness to experiment, fail, have fun, and see what's at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, and maybe even a bit uplifting, like a hot air balloon.
Yeah. Cut that in.
One more try. There once was a fellow McSweeney who spilled some gin on.
No, Martin. There might be children listening.
All right, but speaking of children, next Sunday is Father's Day. We must do a few dad jokes in honor of Father's Day.
Be my guest.
Did you know a dad joke is typically a one-liner pun or a question and answer, but not a narrative? Generally inoffensive, dad jokes are told with sincere humorous intent or to intentionally provoke a negative reaction to their overly simplistic humor. Here are 6 of my best worst dad jokes for Father's Day. What do you call a person who is not a dad who makes dad jokes? A faux pas. What has 4 wheels and flies? A garbage truck. What do you call a cheese that isn't yours? Nacho cheese. The police just arrested the world's tongue twister champion. They say he'll be given a tough sentence. The police, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Noah.
Noah who?
Yep. Know a good joke for Dad's Day? And lastly, knock, knock. Who's there? Olive. Olive who? I love you, Daddy.
Most of you know me. I like to think I'm funny. I do think I'm funny. But my relationship with being funny is complicated. I'd like to tell you part of my complicated story with being funny. I don't think I started out to be funny when I was a kid. I started being funny when I was a teenager. And for a long, long time, I was mean funny. I made jokes that were expensive to other people, sometimes very expensive. I don't do that anymore. I rarely even think of those jokes anymore. But when I do make a mean joke, I instantly regret it and I try to repair the harm. My dad thought he was funny. Maybe he was funny, but his jokes were too expensive for me to laugh at much. He said, "You look good today for an ugly kid." and he laughed. He said, "You did a good job for a stupid kid," and he laughed. I didn't laugh. My dad had trouble with feelings, his feelings and other people's feelings, and he had trouble with conflict. I have a pretty good idea now how that happened to him. I didn't as a kid, and not for a long, long time after. He used jokes to cope with his feelings, so he didn't have to be vulnerable or honest or deal with feelings. Me too, for a long time. Still sometimes. When my dad was irritated at my mom, he would grin and look at the ceiling and chuckle and say, "Get married," they said, "stay out of the draft." His laughter at times like that was what people call mirthless laughter. It's that laugh-like sound that people make so that people might think they're laughing when they're really feeling something else. My mom laughed mirthlessly too when he said things like that. Sarcasm is anger. It pretends to be a joke, but it's really a knife. My mom wasn't funny. She got kind of funny when she was old, but not when I was a kid. Now I think I understand why she wasn't funny sooner, but I didn't then. Both of them are dead now, and neither one of them's funny. That's just as well. My relationship with funny began to change when I was 20. I was living with Judd. Judd was my brother's best friend and had been for years, and he was about 7 years older than me. He had been to Vietnam twice and was getting a divorce when I moved in with him. I thought he was funny in a smart way. Then one night he killed himself. I think I understand that now. At the time, I was blown apart. So a dear friend of mine named Pam took me to see her therapist right away. We drove there in her green MG Midget. On the way, I asked Pam if she thought that going to therapy would make me lose my sense of humor. Even then, I somehow knew that I wasn't funny in a healthy way. So that was the very beginning of the beginning of the beginning of my conscious journey with humor. Not to say there was an instant change. There wasn't. There began a gradual change. I was still mean funny for a long, long time. Humor can be a defense. Defenses protect us. They hold on tight like barnacles or pit bull jaws. If we didn't need protection, we wouldn't need defenses. And if we didn't need defenses, all funny would be nice. Not all funny is nice, and I am still on that journey. I published an article once called The Only Joking Defense. Sometimes when people tell a joke that conveys an attitude that offends other people, the joker says, "I was only joking." Remember Clayton Williams? It turns out that when someone tells a joke that offends someone, the offended person or people believe the teller holds the attitude conveyed in the joke. That's really worth remembering. It's also worth remembering that a joke is only a joke if people laugh. It's like this joke. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. A joke that doesn't make people laugh isn't a joke. It isn't a boomerang. It's a stick. Funny has been a constant companion in my life, like a friend, but a reckless friend. Sometimes that company has been good and sometimes not so good. I have made funny at times that hurt people or embarrassed me or both. Lots of times. Sometimes funny has been more important to me than my relationships. My dad sometimes laughed at my feelings. I used to do that too. And I say it that way on purpose. Laughing at people for any reason is doing a thing to them, like punching or kicking or spitting or yelling or splashing battery acid or other things that scare or hurt or push people away. Laughing at people is no joke. It's a stick. As a companion, my funny pushed people away to keep me safe, and it worked. I was safe and alone and funny for a long time. I used to say, screw them if they can't take a joke. I started therapy that day with Pam and the MG Midget 51 years ago, and I have been at that off and on since then. I don't expect to finish. How do you finish becoming whole and well? My funny has come a long way with me since then. Funny is so woven into my life that I wrote my dissertation about the psychology of humor. My dissertation isn't funny. No dissertations are funny. It's kind of a rule. Somewhere deep in my mind, I think I thought that learning about humor in a sciencey kind of way would help me understand my relationship with humor better. It didn't, at least not very much. It just took a long time. My funniness has changed along the way, but I am still paying attention. Y'all, when our fellowship started meeting, I relied on being funny too much. I was scared and I wanted people to like me and I wanted us to stay together. So I made too many jokes. I know when I'm doing that because my jaw gets tight and starts to hurt. I also know because Mary helps me to know that. I really value her help, but sometimes I don't like it in the moment. I don't want to end this on a dark note. I like making people laugh when it makes them feel good. I like laughing because it makes me feel good. Laughing feels good when it's real. And I like feeling good and laughing with people. So maybe my journey with humor is like this verse from Isaiah, which goes, "They will beat their swords into plowshares and spears into pruning shears. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, nor will they learn war anymore." I want my jokes to be plowshares and pruning shears. I want them to leave behind what is fruitful, not what is bloody and harmful. So I'm working on that. And I'm still working on it. And if you're willing, you can help me. If I say a mean, funny thing, please tell me. Please say, "Michael, I love you. That was mean. Please do better." I just had a bumper sticker made that says, "If you're not working on being a better person, you won't be. You will just be a stick." No joke.
Thank you, Michael, for that reflection. Okay, we had some dad jokes. So now how about these? You know, Michael, most of the members of this fellowship and others identifying as Unitarian Universalists, or at least did in the past.
You're all right, dude. And you know, there are a whole bunch of you jokes.
Really? Like what?
What do you call a dead Unitarian Universalist?
What?
All dressed up with no place to go.
What's the Unitarians' favorite Christmas movie?
Coincidence on 34th Street?
Old Unitarians try to die on the second Thursday of the month because that's when the recycling goes out.
The only time you hear Jesus Christ in a Unitarian church is when someone finds a snake in the offering plate.
Unitarians don't like heaven because they don't like gated communities.
Did you hear about the dyslexic devil worshiper who sold his soul to Santa?
If you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Unitarian, you get someone who knocks on your door but isn't sure why.
All of the children in the Unitarian church school were drawing pictures. Susie, one of the little girls, was drawing, and teacher peeked over her shoulder and said, "What are you going to draw, Susie?" And she said, "I'm going to draw a picture of God." And the kindly teacher said, "Honey, nobody knows what God looks like." And Susie looked up at the teacher and said, "They will when I'm done."
I chose to do my personal reflection on humor as a poem built around some quotes. We commiserate when we're sad. We share a tear or fear. These are moments in which we bond, but there are other times most dear. A well-developed sense of humor is the pole that adds balance to steps as you walk the tightrope of life. William Arthur Ward. Sometimes we find we laugh just to keep from crying, but it's welcome as relief, much better than slow dying. Humor can alter any situation and help us cope at the very instant we are laughing. said Alan Klein. Humor shares our foibles, and we come to understand what really is important, what really is so grand. Comedy is acting out optimism, said Robin Williams. Humor is just another defense against the universe, said Mel Brooks. We like us to be found in states mostly of good humor. In it, we find a welcoming, at least that is the rumor. There is nothing like a gleam of humor to reassure you that a fellow human being is ticking inside a strange face, said Eva Hoffman. Like a welcome summer rain, humor may suddenly cleanse and cool the earth, the air, and you, said Langston Hughes. We love to share a laugh, a guffaw or a giggle, a chortle or a hoot, a snicker or a snigger. He who laughs lasts, said Mary Pettibone Poole. Laugh as much as possible, always laugh. It's the sweetest thing one can do for oneself and one's fellow human beings. Maya Angelou. Cackling with glee, or just some mild mirth, reflected in a smile, it keeps us down to earth. A good laugh overcomes more difficulties and dissipates more dark clouds than any other one thing. Laura Ingalls Wilder. Can we avoid the obvious, that erision cuts both ways when it masquerades as funny, as sarcasm is displayed? It is a curious fact that people are never so trivial as when they take themselves seriously. Oscar Wilde. A person without a sense of humor is like a wagon without springs. It's jolted by every pebble on the road. Henry Ward Beecher. Stay off that crooked path. Let us enjoy each other. For the time that we are here, let's forego the bother. Next to power without honor, the most dangerous thing in the world is power without humor. Eric Sevareid. Wit and drollery, badinage and repartee, joking and jesting are colors of hilarity. A sense of humor is needed armor. Joy in one's heart and some laughter on one's lips is a sign that the person deep down has a good grasp of life, said Hugh Sidney. If you could choose one characteristic that would get you through life, choose a sense of humor. Jennifer Jones. Engage in jocularity, it will serve you well. It is a glimpse of heaven off the beaten path to... Humor is something that thrives between man's aspirations and his limitations. There is more logic in humor than in anything else, because you see, humor is truth. Victor Bourget.
I love to laugh, ha 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 ha, loud and long and clear. I love to laugh.
Thank you all for your kindness and for sharing our careful silliness this morning. There is really so much more to be said about laughing and humor and how it fills our lives when we invite it in and how it hollows us out when we shut it out. So as our closing for this morning, we invite you all to invite laughter in. So please, first, if everyone would unmute yourself. Okay. So this is our daring attempt at Zoom-mediated laughing yoga. So this is how this goes. I am going to begin to laugh as heartily and authentically as I can. And I just want you to join me and laugh out loud. And if it feeds back, then so be it. So here we go.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Before we do our love ritual and send you all off, thank you for participating today in the humor service, Martin and Michael. A lot of work went into that. Thank you so much to you both. I just want to let you know next month in July, we have a guest speaker, Dr. Reverend Tata. Some of you may know her. She's quarter time, I think, at this point at San Marcos, in New Church in San Marcos. So we are looking very forward to her. After if you have to go, we will love you out. But if you can, stay around for Joys and Concerns. And just FYI, in rehearsal, there are some people go, well, why didn't you include blah blah in a dynamic duo or a humorous duo? So as part of Joys and Concerns, if you want to add in who was your lovely person or persons that made you laugh along the way, we'd like to hear it then. Joan will be facilitating that, and then we'll open up for chat. I think I haven't missed anything else. So if you got to go, but if you can stay for Joys and Concerns, do that. In the meantime, if you got to go, we're sending you off with hugs and kisses.